Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, we find a way to lose. This whole thing about Errol Spence not being in shape. Errol Spence killing himself to get down to 147. Errol Spence not having any legs. Errol Spence not having the punch resistance that he would have had if he didn't have to kill himself to get down to 147. Normally that argument will be a good argument. Looking at how the fight went with two athletes where it's just so one-sided, and you have someone who's known for struggling to make weight. Or even if they're not known for struggling to make weight, knowing that they get on the scale and they're like 4 or 5 pounds, 7, 8 pounds over. And then they go and they kill themselves and somehow drop 8 pounds, in a matter of hours, right? We know there's some crazy, crazy methods out there for dropping water weight. And we know there's some athletes who have done it, especially over in a 24-hour period, what these athletes will do to make weight. But when it comes to Errol Spence and that argument, I'm not so sure that I want to run with that. Because when I look at the ChompionBox stats, right? When we start looking at this stuff here, the punch stats, I'm being honest with you. I am not sure that I'm buying into that anymore. Now, when you look here from round 1 through 9, okay, and you look at to see the total punches landed / thrown, okay, and you look at the percentage, okay, of what's being landed per round. Crawford's landing, man, from the first round, he started off at 11, the last round 9, he ended up at 66%. Let me tell you something. If Errol Spence wasn't in great shape, there's no way in the world he would have been able to sustain that attack by Terrence Crawford. Impossible, okay? Now, when we come down and really start to look at, okay, well, what about the jabs landed, okay? You can take a look here and see in the first round that, they were both just kind of going to work here, man. But you look at the jabs landed, you see Crawford was, around 5%, and he bubbled up to 25%. And you can just see as the rounds progressed, he was getting higher and higher with his connect percentage with his jabs. And you can see Spence was throwing a whole lot of jabs, but you can see they were just kind of missing the mark. But at the end of the day, Crawford was throwing a power jab, but at the same time, it was more like a straight right hand. People, again, I'm going to tell you, if a fighter isn't in shape, if they're struggling with punch resistance, if the legs aren't underneath them, if they're weight drained, dehydrated, if they're suffering from a car accident or whatever it is, I just don't think a fighter like that gets to round 9 and finishes on his feet the way Errol Spence did, unless they're in tip-top shape, okay? Then when you come here, take a look at the power punches landed versus thrown, all right? Now, when you just really start to understand the power punches and just see how many Crawford were throwing from the first round to the 9th round, and you can see that the power punches being thrown kind of fluctuated, but at the end of the day, once he got past round 3, round 4, he didn't really have to throw as many because Spence, every time he hit him, he hurt him, okay? And in that 9th round, it didn't take much to get Spence out of there because Crawford was damn near landing everything that he threw when it comes to his power punches. That's scary to see a guy who, to me, after round 3, the fight was over. But to see going rounds 4, a guy hitting him with 20 out of 34, don't forget it. About 60% of the power shots across 4 and 5, 50% of the power shots around 6, and then you can see he's fluctuating between 70-75% of his power shots around 7 through 9. Let me tell you something. You just don't stand up to that. You just don't stand up to that unless you're in shape, okay? And when you come and you finally look at the final punch stat report, and you see that Terrence Crawford, man, when it came to total punches, landed half of his shots, 40% of his jabs, and as far as power punches, man, this man landed 60% of his power punches. You just don't stand up to that unless you're in shape. So the argument that Spence wasn't in shape Spence didn't have his legs underneath him. Spence had all these other struggles, whatever it is, all the myriad of things that we've heard, right? I'm going to tell you that we need to give Spence credit based off this, that Spence did his job. He came in the ring in the best shape probably of his career. He just got himself in a situation with somebody who was over-prepared for him and as a result made the fight, at least to us as spectators, made the fight look easy, okay? And this whole thing is summed up where it goes on to say Crawford put on a magnificent performance, which we all know that, against Errol Spence. The fight was all Crawford. In the end, Crawford was 185 of 369, 50% in total punches, 87 of 206 with jabs. And this is just a shocker for a lot of people. It's just the unreal 98 of 263, 60% of those power punches, which did a lot of damage to Spence. Spence went down in round 2, twice in 7 and in round 9, and then they eventually stopped the fight at 232 in round 9. But that being said, for those who haven't seen this, I wanted to bring that to you to just kind of put things in perspective when it comes to Errol Spence and whether he was in shape or wasn't in shape. Let me tell you something. You just don't get in there with a guy like Crawford who hits like Crawford and push through the 9th round with someone like that who's cracking off on you at around 60% of those power shots. You just don't get to that position and finish on your feet, which I think he would have got knocked out cold in that round anyway, because Crawford had him hurt badly. But you just don't finish on your feet unless you're in tip-top shape. Simple. Okay. So that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. This CompuBox stat spreadsheet is all over the internet. You can just go and search it up, but boxing.com has copies as well. Just search it up, man. Spence Crawford CompuBox spreadsheet, and you go out there and you can take your time to study it yourself. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. In the breeze.